Hey folks, like I stated in the last video, I'm going back to 2019, March 28th, 2019 to be exact, and I'm going to show something kind of cool in this video. But first I want to point something out that I noticed. In regards to my image stabilization, I kind of, other than, the program being kind of manipulated to make me want to upgrade. Other than that thought, I did have another with the rear hinge being really sticky. It took quite a bump to compress the spring, so I kind of thought maybe because it was a rougher ride, the camera was more susceptible to the vibrations, and I thought maybe that was causing a problem with the stabilization. But now that the hinge is kind of moving freely, it's like riding on a cushion of air, and it made no difference as far as stabilization goes. So that kind of got debunked. However, this image you're watching right now is from like a year and a half ago, and look how crisp it is. Everything, the coloring's nice, the contrast, which is the big one, is just perfect. Now compare that with video from today, and by today I mean literally today when I was out. There's a lot of contrast there, and it's sort of kind of fuzzy. It's not as crisp as it used to be, so the camera sensor's wearing out, or some sort of kind of electronics part in the camera is kind of wearing down. So I'm thinking that also might be an issue with the stabilization, because like I said, I looked at earlier videos and the stabilization was perfect, and now I've got it pretty good, but it's still, it's as good as I'm gonna get it. I've kind of resolved to that now. But I got thinking, well, if the picture's fuzzy now, stabilization is based on moving pixels. So if the pixel's fuzzy and it's moving a little bit, it's not going to be sensed as motion, right? Because it's fuzzier, the actual pixels would have to move a farther distance to be detected as moving. So I'm just kind of wondering if that's what's causing the problem. Because a year ago, 2 years ago, it was fine. So that's my current assessment. And so when I get my refund for the camera, then I'm thinking maybe I'll just get a new basic SJCAM. Stick with what I know works. Regarding my refund, first guy I talked to at Amazon said that they could put the refund only on the card that I used to purchase with, and the second one stated they could stick that refund into whatever active card I have with Amazon. Well, apparently the right one was first, because when I got my email that the refund was sent, it went to the card number they gave me was the one I don't have anymore. So I called back again, and apparently the first caller was right, or first agent, and it can only go to that card. So I got in a bit of a fight with him. I was polite, I didn't swear at him or anything, but I wasn't letting it go, because my refund is now off in space somewhere that I can't retrieve. So he said, well, that's our policy or whatever, and I don't remember the words he used, but I said, well, is there anybody else I can ask? And he says, well, my supervisor is here and available. Would you like me to send through to him? I said, yes, please. He says he'll probably tell you the same thing, but okay. He put me through anyways. And he kept telling me to contact my financial institution. Well, to me, a financial institution is a bank. And I kept telling him that this was a credit card. And he kept saying, well, contact the company issuing the card. I said, well, I already have. I've talked to them. He asked me what they said. I said, they told me that my account is closed. It cannot accept money. And if money does show up, then they do not issue checks, refund checks or whatever. and well, I got in like an hour-long fight with him. So basically, he was rude and cut off the conversation. He says, "Nothing else I can do. Thanks. Have a nice day," type thing. Wasn't impressed with that, but basically, they're telling me there's nothing they can do. Money's been sent. It's out of their hands. Yeah. So I tried calling Visa Canada, and of course, their office was closed. This is like 2, 3 in the morning. Office was closed. Well, what they said was temporary closed. They didn't specify closed between certain hours. They didn't say when they were going to be reopening. Is it closed for COVID? They didn't specify. They just said temporarily closed. Okay, so I went back to the card issuer and got somebody who finally knows what they're talking about. And I got my information, my old card number, and they looked, and I do have a balance, a credit, I think she said, of the amount that I'm supposed to be refunded. So, okay, they did get it. So the original person said they wouldn't even get it. So because I don't have another card with them, all they can do is issue me a new card with this amount on it and mail it to me. So I'm now waiting. But at least it looks like I'm going to get it, but I'm going to have to wait a couple weeks for it to arrive. Oh my god. So this is a warning to everybody. If you purchase something from Amazon and there's a possibility that it might be refunded at some point in time, make sure you still have that card issued with Amazon, because that's the only way you're going to get your money back. And, well, according to the first person, unless you buy directly from Amazon, then they'll issue you a gift card. But either way, this is a nightmare. So make sure you don't put yourself into this situation. So in the end, it's all going to work out. But I think when I get that, I'm going to get myself a new SJCAM. Just a basic SJ4000. Ones that I know work. Oh, okay. I spent more time on that than I had planned. But anyways, I got to that construction site, flooded construction site, and I do have video of the water in it being higher than the water surrounding it. So, like I said, it's not the river that's flooding it, it's this culvert that they've blocked that's draining the highway uphill. That's kind of draining into this, and they didn't provide anywhere for it to go. But I guess even if they did, the river's going to come up through that and flood it anyway, so really nothing they could have done about it. So I'm sitting here today, and I'm watching this ice moving. It's a little bit breezy today, so the wind's just kind of blowing the ice from one spot, one end of the pond, we'll call it, to the other. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. So then I repositioned the scooter and watched the rest of it. And it's moving so slowly I can barely see it, but enough to know that it's actually moving. So I stuck around long enough so I could get a nice time lapse of it, just so I can get a faster view of what's actually happening. Yeah, it's actually kind of cool. Isn't that cool? An ice shove is when wind blows over a body of water and it shoves the ice technically onto the shore, and the ice kind of builds up. If I can find a clip of that, I'll stick it in here. This one technically didn't push anything on shore, it just kind of moved it downwind, I guess, across the surface of the water, but it's the first time I've seen that, and I thought that was so cool. I'm glad I noticed the ice was moving. Yeah. That was pretty cool. So now I'm going to get to the project that I had worked on the monster last year. I got these lights. Yeah, I mentioned in an earlier video how if there's anything in the basket, the monster's stock signal lights can be blocked if it's sticking up too high. So I wanted to put these extra lights on. These are motorcycle signal lights. And I'm going to put 2 of these on the front, and I'm going to put 2 on the back, just because I bought a 4-pack. So, but unfortunately, the monster's 24 volts, and these lights are only 12 volts. I couldn't find these in 24. And I like the style of these. I didn't want anything big and bulky, so these are super slim. So that's what I'm going to be working on. And I've already got the front 2 on. I did that last year, and I hadn't covered that yet. But the project I have coming up, I'm going to be putting 2 on the back. So I have to show this first to show my preparation. So to make up for the voltage difference, I've got 4 voltage regulators. These are LM7412. The 1-2 is 12 volts. They come in different voltage settings. 7405 is 5 volt, etc., etc. So those, and I spread the leads apart in order to minimize any touching as I'm soldering the wires onto it. All the wires got everything prepared, so once I just start, I can do everything all in one step. And here they are, completed, all 3 on. And I'm going to test them and make sure they work. The monster is 24 volts, and when I test it, it's actually 26 point something. So I got 3 9-volt batteries together, which will give me 27 volts in theory. So that's my power source for testing. And I put the tester on it, I get 28.8. So that's more than the monster's going to put into it. So I'm good there. And the output is 11.8 volts. Not exactly 12, but there's going to be a tolerance. And I'm not sure if it varies by regulator or if it varies by voltage or both. I don't know, but there's always a tolerance to it. And here's the completed one. I got it all taped up, and there's a reason for that, which I'll explain in a bit, but it's all ready to go. And unfortunately I started soldering the wires on for the light, and I remembered I have to stick this light through a hole in the monster. So soldering permanently is a little bit premature, but it gives me an opportunity to test it out anyways. And with the 28 volt source, works perfectly. So here's a bit of an explanation. The 3 pins on the regulator. You got the 12 volt, or whatever your input voltage is, goes through the first 2 pins. So the outside one is your positive source, and the middle pin is the common ground. So your negative will go to it, and your negative output also comes from it. They're all connected. And the pin on the right is your output, your regulated output, your 12 volt output. So after looking at the specs for this little piece of equipment, the output voltage varies from 11.5 to 12.5 volts, so there's a little bit of tolerance there. The minimum voltage will be 14.6 volts for this particular item. So you put 12 volts in, you're not going to get 12 volts out. And the reason for that is because it's got a circuit inside it, and it's going to use some of that. It needs its own power source in order to provide you with the power. So basically you get your input voltage, it goes into the circuit, and it balls it up, and chews on it, and then spits out whatever the voltage rating is, in this case 12 volts. So the reason I have it all taped up is because the mounting tab, the whole back of this item is metal, and you mount it on whatever, and it's actually grounded. So it's connected to the middle pin. And at this point, I still don't know if the monster is grounded to the frame or not. I've never actually tested, so I don't want to take any chances. So it's all taped up, and it's just going to be part of the wiring. It's not going to be mounted against anything. So it's just all taped up so it doesn't make contact with anything. So that might be a little bit of useless information, but if anybody's interested, there's the specs for it. And all these voltage ratings are all at 25 degrees Celsius, which is 77 degrees Fahrenheit, and they are affected by temperature. I think operating temperature, is between 0 degrees and 200 or 150, I think. And that's Celsius. So from the freezing point up to, too hot to touch. So it doesn't specify that it works below freezing, but I know from experience it does. Might not be as effective. The voltage, actual output voltage might be a little bit different. I haven't tested that, but it does work below freezing. I know that for sure. So that's preparation of the project that's to come. And that's all I got for this video. So, thanks for watching.